To kind of juxtapose right after the presentation before me, because I look at what you've accomplished, and the international scope of that is completely a juxtaposition to what I have, which is literally the brick and mortar store. And I have one of a kind product that doesn't stay in my store for more than, hopefully days. And so it's a very different story, and it sort of turns, my needs are very different. So I think that I'm very excited to follow you to kind of show that difference. But basically, Claudine's Consignment opened in February of 2011. We consign furniture, home decor, and jewelry. Consignment, basically, in case you don't know, is that we'll sell your item for you, and you make half of what we sell it for, and we mail you a check. So you don't get your money right away, but that's the basic model of it. So everything I have is one of a kind. I don't have a product for which you can order multiple times. It's what people are bringing in. So the building that we have is 7,000 square feet. And about 6,000 of it now is retail floor. We're on a busy northwest corner of 8th and Pittsburgh. Hopefully the Westbury Plaza there will, rejuvenate that area, but it's great coming off the peninsula and all of that. So we have a great brick and mortar location with lots of traffic passing by. And that worked at the beginning, 2011, 2012. So just to kind of talk about the journey, when I started it, I thought, I don't need anything more than an informational website. These products you can't order them more than once. I'm only local. I cannot ship them. I can ship them, but, I'm not going to ship a big hutch. I don't want to get into the logistics of it, really. I don't want to ship to anybody. So it was very easy to just say, I'm going to put consignor info on a website, and they're going to learn how to consign. But there's nothing for the customer on my website, period. It's just informational. And we operated like that, for about a year. And then I decided, okay, there's going to be that Facebook page, which we had from the beginning. And we decided we're going to put our items on Facebook. Well, that's great, except that you are at their beck and call. They change something automatically, and you have no warning that they're going to change the way they operate. And so the way you're posting pictures one day isn't allowed the next day. And I had a problem I'm a control freak. So pretty much I didn't want them to have control over my inventory content. I didn't want it on their site. But it was the easiest, quickest way to get our inventory, some pictures of our inventory out online. But a large majority of our customers are kind of a little bit older than the Facebook even comfort level is. And so when we said you can go look at inventory on Facebook, they're like, well, I don't have a Facebook account, and I don't, So it was still limiting on getting exposure to inventory. But again, my goal became, I need the customer to see the inventory. The way that my business works, I found, is that consignors and supply comes automatically when you have customers. I don't have to advertise to get in stuff, okay? So I had to shift everything to customers. How do I make it easy? And the fact of the matter is, they have come to expect an online presence, period. It doesn't matter if I'm a small store, they want to be able to see the items online. And if I don't provide that, even as a small little local store that doesn't want to ship anything, I'm not going to make it very far, if I'm only depending on them walking in. So 2012, 2013, I've got, Facebook albums, I've got, them organized. So it's not even a single click. It's like you got to go into Facebook, and then you have to go to photos, and then you have to find the albums. And, it's not intuitive for a lot of people. So it worked for a while, but it wasn't easy. It just wasn't easy. And if you don't make it easy now, you can kind of forget it. So as I'm trying to determine, I think I got to find a way to house my own inventory on my website, I start Craigslist. I started it in March of 14. And the goal was, I sat down my staff and I said, every piece of furniture on Craigslist. And they're like, okay. So I'm going to, type all this. And I said, we're not going to give any details. We're going to put a picture. We're going to say what it is. We're going to say the price. And then we're going to have a stock text that just, is there in the description. We're not going to do much with it. It's just going to say, go to, but I didn't have something to send them to. Right, but they didn't want to type in the dimensions of the furniture and, all that. So it was really just piquing somebody's interest. What we found was, first of all, we had really negative backlash on Craigslist because we were posting a lot. And it actually turned out to be a kind of one of those like negative exposure is just as good as positive exposure. And we had a huge influx of shoppers who just wanted to come and see why people were so mad at us on Craigslist. I had threatening phone calls. But they came kind of flowing in the store, and we are following all of Craigslist rules. And you can turn off the dealer, part if you don't want to see our items. But, but what it did was expand our radius of my local store hugely. So what ended up happening from March through the spring and summer of 14 was that we had a week where we sold 5 couches to people who lived more than an hour away. Bradford, Jamestown, Titusville, Oil City, Pittsburgh, Conneaut, because that Erie's the Craigslist that they're shopping on. Okay, so now there's this piece, except I still don't have a good place to link them from Craigslist. And my goal is I don't want them shopping on Craigslist. I want them coming to my website. I want them to go there and then stop shopping my stuff on Craigslist. It's like, oh, now I can go straight to her website. How do I do it? I've got 5 key people that work for me. Only one works full time. How do I do this with no expense? I've got no expertise in how to list things online. Here's another weird thing. I don't want people to actually pay for their stuff on my site, because if they don't see it in person, it's secondhand. There's probably a flaw of some sort that they need to see in person. So I want to have this store, but I really don't want them to pay for it on the store. I want them to sort of place an order, and then we can call them and qualify that they've seen it in person and get their credit card information over the phone kind of thing. So that whole, who's going to provide that service? How is that going to work? So these are just a couple services that service independent retailers that we found. But I happen to use Boutique Window. I know, Sabrina, you use Snap Retail. And I think Snap now has the online store option. Boutique Window, basically it's these 25-year-olds out of Nebraska that said, we're going to do this for you really easily. And their interface is so easy, like that my people that know nothing about, posting things online or anything, they can easily go in. Without increasing or hiring a single person, I now maintain over 450 to 500 items online daily. And they post every piece of furniture first, and then we moved on to every lamp, picture, bedding, dishes, and we just keep adding the categories as our efficiency gets going. But again, they're one of a kind. So, you talked about investing in photography and things like that. And what we have found is that it's not cost effective for me to take the time to take a very professional photo for something that once it's gone, it's gone. And so they kind of just take them right in place as they're staged in the store. We have 2 areas on the website. Basically, Boutique Window, within 4 days, I had a full online store. They just put a widget on my existing website. They did it. They're like, okay, here's how you log in. Here you just click and drag take your photo on your iPad and plop it in there, type some description, and it just does it right there. And it's so easy to use, but how am I going to get it off? How am I going to keep a real-time thing? So when it sells, how do I get it off my website? It's so easy. Boutique Window, I just search an item number. My cashier takes it off the website at the point of sale. Like, it takes her about 5 seconds. She takes the ticket, she types in the 5-digit number, it comes up on our Boutique Window, and she hits remove, and it's removed immediately from the website. So these providers are not only making it very efficient and very easy, but I only paid less than $500 a year for this service. So not only did I add no labor, I didn't hire anybody, and it's very, very reasonable. And Boutique Window and Snap Retail both provide lots of social media graphics and marketing and all of that it's sort of an add-on. For me, I was really looking for the online store. So when you go to my store and you have shop the floor or shop the queue, so what ended up happening is that I was having so many items coming in that it was often the furniture was sitting in the back room for 2 weeks, 3 weeks before we would have room on the floor. So why can't I sell those? So now the queue is the only place to shop my back room. So now I've created something that you can only do on my website. You can only access this inventory on my website. You can't even see it when you walk in the store. We have a tablet on the counter that they can look at the items, but then, we have to take them to the back room if they're interested. We started doing that. We give them 10% off if they buy it out of the back room. And we tell them it's not cleaned, it's not staged, it's not Old Englished, it's not, there still might be something in the drawer. And basically, you're buying it out of the back room. And it created this sense of urgency that was hysterical. Like, they would come in and be like, okay, I need to look at what's in the back room. And it didn't even look as good or, as all the time that my stagers spend doing it. And it created that sense, like I said, of urgency. Basically, it looks like Pinterest when you go there. You click on it, it blows up into the item image. We now have added dimensions. I give dates where my items go down, so they actually see when the sale dates are. They can, if they hit buy now, really they're just placing an order. I get an email notification and we call them the next morning and we make sure they've seen it in person. So what's happening is people are using the website to decide to come into the store, or because I have discounts shown of when the things are going to go down, they come in, they see a piece of furniture, they decide, I'm going to wait and see if it's still there at the 20%. They don't have to come back in. They've looked at the item, so it could be a week later, and they just say, oh, I am going to, that morning it went down, I'm going to place my order, they're going to call me, I don't have to come in. The other thing is the remorseful shopper who I'm really going to be upset if that dining table's gone and it's 9:00 at night and I should have just bought it when I was there and I can't get there in the morning, and they'll just stick it in their cart at 9:00 at night, even though they saw it that day. The back room sales, probably when we have a full back room, which is our busy times where it's taking 2 to 3 weeks for the furniture to come out on the floor, we average 15 to 20 pieces of furniture that never go on our sales floor in a month. For us, that's huge. Just to give you an idea, a good sales day for us is to sell 2 or 3 large pieces of furniture. So if you look at my Google Analytics and you say, oh my gosh, I had 45 people on my site, it's important to me because if that turns into 3 pieces of furniture, so it's such a different scale, but the website has become a very local interaction versus sort of the big web idea. And it adds a level of professionalism to what I do that you can't even imagine, because they think, oh, she has a website and I can see it on there. And both from the consignor end and the customer end, they feel like, oh, she's not just, selling my thing, taking my money, whatever the stigma is that consignment has. So the goals, it's very easy for the customer. It's very affordable for me. Like I said, my investment was less than $500 to get all of this store online. Didn't hire a single person extra. And I get that 24/7 exposure at a local level, and it adds that professional ability. And it's very flexible because I was able to go to a small company like Boutique Window and say, okay, here's my need. I'm a consignment store. It's one of a kind, and I can't have them check out the traditional way, and I can't do this, and I can't do that. And I call them up and I'm like, oh, when you navigate here, it's bumping them back here, and I don't like that. And I'm like talking to the main person on the phone. These small companies that serve us independent retailers that can really customize and be flexible with my needs, because consignment shop isn't like a regular retail store. But the expectation of the online presence for that small local retailer is huge. And every day, that's all I know people are looking at the items online and then coming in and buying them, and hopefully buying other stuff when they come in the door, like you said. So that's it. That's the story.